Now, from next month, South Africa will see a new debit order system being set in stone. The South African Reserve Bank saying it will implement the AC debit check payment system as of the 1st of May. And this is because so many of us are still falling for fraudulent debits on our banking and checking accounts every month. Joining me now is technology communicator and CEO of Socially Acceptable, Nazareen Ebrahim. Nazareen, thank you so much for joining us. Still, many of us are falling for these ghost debits on our banking accounts every month. The South African Reserve Bank now wanting to curb that.
This is it, Lester. Lovely to talk to you again. So the South African Reserve Bank, I think 2 or 3 years ago, identified this as a growing issue, where you get those nasty 99 Rand debit orders that quietly go off, and you try to find them or trace them and have them stopped. And it's actually just an endless pit of trying to do this. So in order to address that, they went to the Payments Association of South Africa, and along with the rest of the major banks, asked for a system to be put into place. And that was debit check. And debit check was then created, put into the works in 2019. And of course, COVID hit. So the layout or the rollout of the system has been gradual, as it would be expected, because there are many banks, many financial service providers, and you need time to roll these out so that all systems are on par. That seems to be now, since the South African Reserve Bank put out their press release today announcing that this will be implemented completely from the 1st of May. So that gives confidence to all South Africans. They can now control debit orders on their accounts.
Now, many people are asking, then, how does my account get affected by this? How do I end up paying these mysterious, 30, 50, 40 Rand up to 90 Rand debit orders? It doesn't go off on my SMS notification because it's below a certain amount. How are people getting my bank account details and loading a debit order on it?
So, there are a number of different ways that if you think about your own understanding of how you transact with services and products that are offered to you by any kind of financial service provider. If it's, we'll take an example like an insurance company calling you up and saying they have this new product. It could be for a cancer cover, and you've got to pay every month a certain amount. You then, in most cases, what a consumer would do is agree to it because they like the idea of the product or somehow it makes sense to them. And the other type of transaction you can look at is the ones that you see going off via services that you transact through an SMS or any kind of digital platform. And I think this is what organizations like the Payments Association of South Africa and major banks are trying to do, is increase the financial education with South Africans, because the way we transact online sometimes leaves us in the dark around who has access to our account. With the access or now the rollout of the new debit check system, the early authentication on debit orders gives you better control as a consumer on whether you have authorized a debit order or not, and your bank will call you to ask you that upfront, especially with the terms that have been arranged. You can then authorize that through USSD code, going into your banking app, going into the branch, or logging on a website on your desktop to be able to do that. What's not clear, though, I would like to understand from them is if this is month to month or if this is once off based on if you have a 12 or a 24-month contract. We don't have clarity on that.
Then speaks to who then has ultimate responsibility. Is it my responsibility to go through my banking statement every month, or is it the bank's responsibility to ask me? And this has happened a few times where I have received a banking app notification saying a new debit order has been loaded. Click yes if you are aware of this and whether you approve. Or is it, just me going through with a ruler and a pen through my bank statement every month to see whether a debit order is correct or not?
So I think this is a shared understanding from what the major financial service providers are saying to us, the major banks, South African Reserve Bank, Payments Association of South Africa, is that the bank has a responsibility now, according to what we are being told from the different service providers, that they will agree with you upfront on debit orders that are being loaded into your account. You then have the option of accepting them or declining them. I think with looking at month on month, it's a case of South Africans also being savvy, which is understanding from what we're getting from service providers is having better control over your financial affairs, your financial management around what's in your account or not. Because the behavior, it seems, of many South Africans, or the trend from research identifies that people sometimes will blindly accept that their affairs are in order or whatever accounts are going off. You don't go with a fine-tooth comb through your bank statement each month looking. People do. Some people have that kind of behavior. But for the most part, South Africans are going through the learning process, especially with new systems like these being introduced, about how better to manage financial services or their financial services.
Nazareen Ebrahim, she is a tech communicator, also the CEO of tech company Socially Acceptable. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Midday Report.